Okay, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to the conference with myself, Chanel, and Le Cercle des Langues. Today, we are going to be discussing common mistakes French speakers make in English grammar. Avoid the pitfalls typical of French speakers. This is for levels B1 to B2. So for the next 20 minutes, we are going to discuss these errors. And for the last 5 minutes, we will have a question and answer session. So please feel free to take notes and to put your questions into the chat, and we can discuss them when the conference finishes. So let's begin. In today's conference, we are going to discuss 4 parts. We are going to look at the definite and the indefinite. So those are the articles. The prepositions of time, place, and movement. Our verb tenses, such as the present simple or the simple and the continuous. And for the last part, we will look at adjective, order, and agreement. So remember, these are the errors that we make most often. So we are going to have a look at them this evening. So for our introduction, welcome everyone. This presentation aims to identify frequent errors, explain why they occur, and provide practical examples to avoid them. Therefore, from now on, we recommend you take notes of what's coming up. French speakers often face specific challenges when learning English grammar due to differences between the two languages. Understanding these common mistakes helps improve accuracy and fluency. So stay tuned and see how easy it is. So let's begin with our first part, the definite and the indefinite. So let's do a quick review of the articles. Articles are words that define a noun as specific or unspecific. They tell us if we are talking about something general or something particular. English has 2 types of articles. The definite article, which we know as the. En français, c'est le, la et les. And we have the indefinite, which is a or an. And in French, we have un, une et des. So, common mistake is sometimes we overuse the articles or we omit the articles. That means sometimes we use them too much or we do not use them enough. So when do we use the? It's used when referring to something specific or something that has already been mentioned or is known to both the speaker and the listener. For example, I watched the movie last night. So a specific known movie. My father bought the book last week. So he is talking about a specific known book. So if you have already had a conversation with somebody and you have mentioned a movie, you can now say, oh, I watched the movie last night that we were speaking about. So what are the most common mistakes that we find with the? Incorrect is saying, I love the music. So the correct way to say this is, I love music. Here we are referring to the general concept of music. So we are not referring to arriving at a party and you hear the song and you say to your friend, oh my goodness, I love the music. Because now you can. In this situation, it is acceptable because you are referring specifically to the music you can hear. But if you are talking about music in general, so you meet someone and they say, what do you do for fun? Oh, I love music. Here it is less specific. You are talking about something in general. It's incorrect to say, we can say, I love this music. Absolutely. So Cedric uses another example. We can say, I love this music. You can. So I love this music or I love the music. Both of them are acceptable because you are referring to the particular music being played at that moment. It's incorrect to say she is the doctor unless you are referring to a specific one. Correct is she is a doctor. Okay. It is also incorrect when we say we went to the school yesterday. It is only acceptable if referring to school as a general institution. We went to school yesterday is the correct form. So when do we use a or a and an? A or an are used when referring to something that is not specific or is being mentioned for the first time. It could be any one of its kind. Let's look at some examples. I ate a salad last night. It could be any salad that you ate. You are highlighting that you ate a salad. I read a book last month. It could be any book. You are just saying that this is what you did. Some common mistakes with a or an is, for example, I am engineer. It's important in English that we use an article to present a profession. I am an engineer. It's incorrect to say she wants apple because she wants an apple. Why? Because it is not a specific apple that she wants. She wants an apple. So in the bowl of apples, she just wants one. He is looking for apartment. No, he is looking for an apartment. Okay. So what is the difference between the definite and the indefinite articles? We normally use the when we talk about something specific, already known, or unique. For example, can you pass me the book on the table? The listener already knows about the book. Or look at the moon. Because there is only one, it is specific. So therefore we say the moon. So let's look at it in context. So let's take 2 minutes to analyze the next articles in context. Last weekend, I went to a museum with my friend. We saw an exhibition about ancient civilizations, and the artifacts were fascinating. There was a statue of an Egyptian pharaoh, and the guide explained its history. After the tour, we decided to have a snack at the museum cafe. I ordered an iced tea and my friend got a sandwich. We sat near the fountain in the garden, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. It was a wonderful experience and we plan to visit the museum again soon. So if we look at the text, we can see how we use the articles one or another. So before we move on, I will take some time to explain. I went to a museum. We were just mentioning the fact that we went to a museum. We did not specify. And the person with whom we are speaking, I have not mentioned it to him before. It's the first time we are speaking about it. We saw an exhibition, also the first time. But because I have already spoken about it, I can now say the artifacts. There was a statue because it's the first time I'm talking about it, but the guide explained its history because for the exhibition there was a guide. After the tour, because I've already spoken about the exhibition, we decided to have a snack. First time I'm talking about it. I ordered an iced tea, first time, and a sandwich, another first time. We sat near the fountain. Why? Because it is specific. There is only one in the garden. There is only one that belongs to the museum, enjoying a peaceful atmosphere. Let's move on to prepositions. Time, place, and movement. Prepositions can be tricky because they do not always have a direct translation in other languages. They are used to show relationships between words, indicating time, place, or movement. So one such common mistake is confusing in and at. For example, incorrect to say I am in school. Generally we say I am at school. But let's have a quick review. So let's take some time to analyze the different variations before we analyze them one by one. So in general, when we're looking at in, on, or at, we look at in as the general. We look at on as more specific and at as very specific. So for general things like centuries, decades, years, months, weeks, seasons, periods of time, holidays, and parts of the day, we will say in. For countries, cities, neighborhoods, and enclosed spaces, we will use in. We go a little bit more specific. Holidays with day, days of the week, dates, specific days, times, days and parts of the day, streets, avenues, surfaces, means of transport and communication, we will use on. And at, it's the most specific we get because we have hours, parts of the day, time, holidays without day, addresses, and specific locations. So let's go into a little bit of detail. We use in for months, years. For example, in July or in 2023. We use on for days and dates. On Monday and on July the 5th. And we use at for specific times. For example, at 5 p.m. or at noon. Some common mistakes we can say sometimes is in Monday instead of on Monday. We used in for enclosed spaces, in a car, in a room, and we use on for surfaces, on the table, on the wall. And we use at for points, such as at the door, at the bus stop. Another common mistake is saying that the cat is on the bed instead of the cat is on the bed. Je pense qu'il y a une petite erreur là. I think it's when we say the cat is in the bed versus on the bed. So we often get in, it's dans or dedans, on, c'est sur, under, dessous, behind, derrière, in front of, devant. We get above, so that we also, when we say above, we go au-dessous, below, en dessous, between, c'est entre, and next to, c'est à côté, or à côté de. For prepositions of movement, we use to for destinations. For example, I am going to Paris. Another good way to remember when to use to is with verbs of movement. For example, I go to the restaurant. I walk to the restaurant. I drive to the restaurant. If your verb is showing movement, déplacement, you will always say to. We use into for movement inside something. For example, she walked into the room. And we use onto for movement on a surface. For example, the cat jumped onto the table. A common mistake is saying I go in my house instead of I go into my house. In our third topic, we look at the simple versus the continuous. So in the present simple, we look at an example of I work every day, which shows a habit. And the present continuous shows an action happening now. So I am working now. A common mistake is saying I work now instead of I am working now. So let's look at why this tends to happen. French speakers often make this mistake because French doesn't distinguish between the present simple and the present continuous in the same way English does. In French, the present tense, so le présent dans l'indicatif, can express both habitual actions and actions happening at the moment of speaking. Although French has être or être en train de, to be in the process of, it is not as commonly used as the present continuous in English. The past simple versus the present perfect. The past simple speaks of a specific past time. For example, I visited Paris last year. The present perfect speaks of an unspecified past. For example, I have visited Paris. Common mistakes are things like saying, I have seen him yesterday, instead of I saw him yesterday. If you would like to think about the past simple, imagine that the past simple is always specific. That means you will have an indication or something showing when. For example, last year, yesterday, in 2023, when I was small. Because for the past simple, when it happened is very important. But for the present perfect, because it is unspecified, that means the date is not important. When it happened is not important. It is more important that it happened, the action. So we will most times talk about the action being more important than when. So in French, the passé composé, j'ai vu, is often used for both completed or past actions, completed past actions and experiences, similar to the English present perfect. Since j'ai vu Pierre hier is correct in French, learners might say, I have seen him yesterday in English. So the key rule, as I've explained, if there is a specific past time, example, yesterday, last week, in 2019, you will use the past simple. For example, I saw him yesterday, not I have seen him yesterday, because the present perfect doesn't work with a specific time. Let's look at adjective, order, and agreement. In English, adjectives follow a specific order. You get opinion, size, then age, shape, color, origin, material, and purpose. For example, a nice big old round red Italian leather bag. A common mistake we'll make is saying a red round big nice bag. More example, a cute small young white cat, a delicious big round chocolate cake, a comfortable large blue sofa. It's important to remember that in English you will not often find more than 4 adjectives. And 4 sometimes is the limit. We tend to have 3. So it's not often that you will find as many adjectives before the noun. It's just important to know that this is the order, so that if you have the age, it will come before the color. If you have the origin, it will come before the purpose. So it will help you put your adjectives in the right order. So adjectives in English never change for plural or gender. So a small dog, small dogs. So we will never have smalls, dogs. A happy boy will stay happy boys. A big house will stay big houses for the plural. Adjectives never take the S, even with plural nouns. So in conclusion, understanding and avoiding these common mistakes, French speakers can communicate more clearly and confidently in English. Remember that language learning is a journey, and every step forward, mistakes included, brings improvement. So keep practicing, stay curious, and embrace the process. So thank you everyone for joining me for this conference this evening. Do you have any questions or comments that you would like to make? If you do, you are more than welcome to unmute your microphone now.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Shanna. Fine, and you?
I'm well, thank you.
Very good. I'm Max from France. When you say a something, do you make a difference between a cat or with a cat? Is there any difference between them, or it just you pronounce as it is?
It's just the pronunciation that's different. So, for example, I am from South Africa. I have learned the British English system. So, because of my accent, I tend to say a cat.
Okay.
But when you speak of American English, you'll hear them say a cat. You see?
Okay.
But it means exactly the same thing. It's just the pronunciation that is comfortable for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My absolute pleasure. Is there anybody else?
Yes, I'm Celine.
Hello.
So, when you're at work
Yes.
and you want to go to home or into your home, in fact.
When you are at work, you want to go home. Home is
Home.
an exception.
Okay.
So when you are talking about the direction you would like to go to, I'm not speaking about at. So at shows your fixed position. So I am at work. That's correct. But if I am going to a certain place, I go home. I go home. It's just home, that we do not use the preposition to.
Okay. And if you are at work
Yes.
and you want to go to your house,
Yes.
it's to or into?
You want to go to your house, because into is the specific movement of going from the outside of something into something. For example, when you get to your house, you are outside your house. Okay? Now I am walking into my house because I moved from being outside to in. Does that make sense? So it's that
Yeah.
movement that says I'm outside into.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Celine. Are there any other questions, or was that all good for everyone? So thank you everyone for joining me for this conference. Remember to download the conference PDF from the chat, and I will see everybody for the conference next week. So have a beautiful weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.